There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back after we head into day two for Rift Rivals 2017. Of course, this is going to be between actually the GPL, the LJL, as well as the OPL. But of course, before anything else, we are going to be introducing ourselves. Arctic at your service, and of course, with me is Atlas as your casters for today. But before anything else, we've had a pretty intense day one yesterday, and the action is only going to get all the more intense as we head into the scheduling for today, so that we could go ahead and see what matches you could look forward to day two. Of course, we're going to be starting off with GPL's MSK versus OPL's Sin Gaming, followed by LJL Rampage and GPL's Gigabyte Marines. Third match will be GPL Ascension Gaming versus OPL Legacy Esports. And finally, we'll wrap up the day with OPL Sin Gaming versus LJL's Unsold Stuff Gaming. And wow, oh wow, of course, with all the action that transpired yesterday, we're just going to hope to see what the standings were for yesterday, just so that we have a little bit of a recap of all the action that happened. Of course, Gigabyte Marine standing at a 1-0 with Rampage at 0-1, while Dire Wolves themselves have acquired a 1-1. For the second standing, peeps, we have Ascension Gaming at 0-1, Detonation Focus Me at 2-0, and Legacy Esports at 0-1. And for the third standings, Mineski of the GPL at 0-1, Old Soul Stuff Gaming at 1-0, and of course Sin Gaming at no games yet. They'll be playing all their games for today.
Yeah, I'm actually genuinely surprised that the LJL teams are doing so well, because I've watched their leagues before and they never seem to stand out as of the international wildcard regions, and seeing them like this means there's a lot of growth, because if you consider it, there's not really a big PC gaming culture in Japan. So seeing them perform like this means that these players are really serious about their growth, and that showing on this international stage against other wildcard regions means that they are definitely getting somewhere with their practice, with their organization. So seeing them at this standing right now is becoming very, very interesting.
And there we go. Of course, I'm going to hope to hold you right there as we head into the pick and ban for our first game. Of course, once again, this is going to be between Mineski versus Sin Gaming. So if I'm not mistaken, this is actually going to be the squad from both GPL and the Oceania Premier League. Pro League, rather.
Yeah, Oceania, definitely another wildcard region, definitely have one, also up there in terms of the skill. Mineski will have the run for their money here. Let's look at the drafting phase here. Gragas, Thresh, and Shen. Lots of tanking is taken away from Sin Gaming. As for Sin Gaming, they will be banning away Zach, Galio, and interestingly, Nunu from James. I don't think I've ever seen James like really get into the Nunu. So maybe this is something that they really are not wanting to actually face against. Seeing although their picks will be the Caitlyn, Elise, and Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank, very, very interesting here for the bot lane of Mineski. As for Sin Gaming, it's a little more standard. Zyra probably going to go and support Talia in the mid lane, and Rek'Sai for jungle.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised by this Nunu ban right here. You know, it's something that even us ourselves, as casters coming to the Philippines, we haven't really seen Mineski use themselves. So the fact that we're seeing this as a ban from Sin Gaming, I'm not sure. Potentially it's an error, but at the same time, you know, these teams may have been able to scout whatever each other's team has been practicing. So this could potentially be something that Mineski has practiced on to much success. But regardless, of course, we're going to be heading into the second banning phase as we see the Cassid and the Syndra actually going to be banned out, you know, really solid. They really want to avoid Mineski taking up picks, which could counter this Talia right here.
Definitely Exosen, also a very powerful mid laner, so Ryoma wants to avoid any sort of kill potential coming from the Kassadin or the Syndra. As for Mineski, top lane and AD carry will be the focus for the final bans. Lots of diversity in the bans for Mineski here. Actually, if you consider it, this could be every single role in the game, one ban each, and this just means it's kind of a safe ban, one ban each, one very powerful picks coming from each player on Sin Gaming. That could be their game plan. As for Sin Gaming, going for lots of damage here with the Jhin, but I am worried because Jhin has not had a lot of love in the recent patches, in the recent meta. So, but still having the Zyra there means that this will be a very explosive bot lane coming from Sin Gaming. As for Mineski, immediately locking in the Kled, they want to charge in. Then it's definitely something that can be done against the Zyra, against the Jhin. Not a lot of mobility, so if they get to that back line, Mineski will just absolutely destroy them. But if Sin Gaming can just wall them off with Ryoma, that's definitely something that Mineski does not want to deal with.
Definitely. And you know what's interesting here is that if you're going to look at the trend for most games, most of the first phase of picks that happen within the pick and ban is pretty much as demonstrated by Mineski here, the very standard AD carry jungler support within that first rotation. So I believe this is the second or potentially the third time we'll actually be seeing a mid laner being pushed as a priority within the first picking phase, because you know the confidence really that some of these teams have put in their mid laner, and then transitioning into making sure that they use their two bans into banning out champions that could potentially deter the first pick. It really demonstrates just how much faith they have and how much they rely on the strength of their respective mid laners, because I believe this is something that LJL did by going with the Syndra yesterday, transitioning into bans which would potentially counter a Syndra so that the enemy wouldn't pick it. So it's the same trend here for Sin Gaming. Very interesting indeed.
Definitely the patterns here for drafting, really seeing how these games are actually thinking about how they draft instead of just doing it willy-nilly. As for Mineski going for the Corki, mid Corki definitely very powerful, and we see always, like in the months before Worlds, in a few months before Worlds, Corki always gets some love. He gets picked, he gets buffed, he gets some changes that make him super viable for professional play, and it's been a pattern, like every single season, like the past 3 seasons, that's what's been happening to Corki, and it's basically a pattern now for Riot to actually do that, and seeing him in the mid lane now, coming from the bot lane, definitely see very, very refreshing, a lot more diversity in the AD carries as well, in the mid laners rather. So we'll be seeing how all that plays out once drafting ends. But talking a little bit more about the compositions, looking at these two, who do you think has the upper hand, like in like the phases of the game?
Wow, I mean, I really can't quite recall what the other champions have been selected for both sides, so, but we'll be able to definitely determine that later on once we go on in the Rift. But so far, you know, if we're going to look at yesterday's performance as a reference, well, this will be the first game that Sin Gaming will ever be playing within the Rift Rivals, so we're yet to see just how powerful they are as a team. Mineski, however, in their game yesterday, you know, they really had a hard time against the LJL squad here, so maybe we'll see them have some equal or hopefully garner some success going up against the OPL squad. But and there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we'll be heading in to the game. Of course, once again, this is going to be game 1 for Rift Rivals 2017, which features the GPL, the LJL, as well as the OPL. But of course, for this first game, it is going to be Mineski from the GPL and Sin Gaming from the OPL that'll be duking it out for day 2.
Oh man, this might be a little bit of trouble for Dokla. If TG gets a hook in, of course, smelling that something is wrong, he goes for the retreat. Yeah, Sin definitely has an advantage here in terms of the intel. Mineski has shown more of what they can offer compared to Sin Gaming, who's just, as you said, playing their games now.
And there we go. So, yeah, I actually like that you brought that up, because if you're going to think about it, like really, this is just generally with how the teams performed yesterday. If you're going to look at the OPL squad, you know, the first seed going up against the GPL's Gigabyte Marines, you know, they really struggled and ultimately faltered. But then again, just when you think that you start underestimating the OPL, like they just head in straight on with their first seeds here. In that game where they went against the first seed from Japan, Rampage, that was a game that really defied my expectations, wherein they toppled over Japan's first seed. And just when we were seeing like the rest of Japan's squads, like the second and third seed, really performing yesterday, so again, it's just really hard to gauge the power of each region here, because across the board, everybody's been performing, if not for their first seeds, their second seeds, and their third seeds.
That's true. Like, there's no real rock, paper, scissors to these regions. It's just that every single team has their strengths and weaknesses, and some of these second seed, third seed teams from OCL have been, OCE rather, have been really duking it out and able to just abuse those weaknesses. And coming to this, I really like the warding that came from Mineski at the start. Being able to know exactly where Jubes is starting means that they will have more information to work with on when to play aggressively in lane and when James is able to counter gang. We'll see how Sin is able to react to that.
I agree with you there. And with all said and done, this is actually quite good in the sense that if we're going to look at most of the games that have transpired in Rift Rivals, with the exception of probably with at least one, most of the action that happens, you know, both teams, they're very careful over the first 10 to 15 minutes of this game. Not most of the action that happens usually transpires past the 20-minute mark, that we see these very late first bloods. That being said, you know, with this information, we're probably going to be seeing that.
Man, it is going to be hooked in for the Zyra. Instantly gets taken down with Ignite. As for top lane, Dokla almost gets away, but just gets executed by Kaigu and James. Two cross-map plays. Very aggressive gun from Mineski.
Yeah, a really great start for them. I really like the proactivity. And this was just when I was talking about how usually things are safe and sound and first bloods don't really transpire until past the almost.
Dokla might be in trouble once again. Kaigu and James are diving, and this is Elise and Kled, two of the best diving champions for the top lane and the jungle. But it seems like Kaigu bites the dust right there.
Man, but regardless, this is crazy, you know, Mineski, definitely a different tempo from what we've seen from them yesterday. Clearly, somewhat learning from the mistakes, the minor missteps that they had yesterday, which resulted to their loss against the LJL squad. So, you know, it's really good. I hope that this is a pace that they could continue to pick up, because that's something that has been a big question mark for the Mineski squad during day one of Rift Rivals.
Yeah, unexpected too, because if you're coming up against a team who has not had any matches at all in the event, in the tournament right now, you would expect to play a little bit more safely with Mineski with the confidence to go in. Sin has to be able to resist that aggressiveness to get back, because they have a very good scaling composition. So much damage that could come from Dokla, from FBI, and even from Rogue. So if they can get going, it's going to be very hard for them. But James going for the flash. Cocoon actually whips by a mile, has to repel right out of there. But it is going to be Rogue still going for it. Lots of damage. Juves just arrives just to scare them off, ensure that their team cannot get turned with a teleport. So it gets cancelled by Kaigu.
Yeah, definitely a misprediction
there. Still going for something. This is just Juves alone here. He's going to have to be able to save him, but he's all right there in the mid lane. Rogue tries to save his buddy, but these are two low members taken down by Sin. It's going to be Zenshaw. Has to net away. The heal actually saves his life. A little bit over aggressiveness come from Mineski.
Yeah, that was a little bit of an overstep, but still, nonetheless, they were able to get a kill off of it. Whether or not it was the most necessary, the best scenario for them, well, not necessarily, but overall, with the proactivity, it actually puts them back on very much equal playing field as far as the gold count.
Definitely. It did give Zenshaw 2 kills, which can be more worth because Rogue was the one who got one of the kills. And while it is dangerous to have a Zyra get more kills, it's still more worth it to have two of them go to the AD carry. Still, their confidence to go for that 3-on-1, but really they needed restraint to actually not die to that, since they could get collapsed on Kaigu. A little bit of love tap exchange with Dokla. Could go for a full on fight here, but Dokla has to run away. Does not want to risk Kaigu getting Skarl back and baiting him.
Definitely. And I mean, we'll just have to see again. This is actually a very interesting trend from MSK squad here. Looks like Juves himself already starting to become proactive, but looks like both junglers scouting out each other.
James, sneaky there with a repel, but here comes Kaigu. Might not have Skarl in time, actually just gets it, but that is very low health. Kaigu, little moment of invulnerability, but a shotgun actually takes down Dokla. Oh, but the minions do get Dokla's revenge just for him.
Yeah, I mean, wow. Look, I really like these trade-offs happening right off the bat. A totally different tempo from most of the games that we've been seeing earlier during day one. So, you know, this is an interesting trend here because both sides really gunning for supremacy, really trying to establish that early on snowball so that they wouldn't really have as much trouble transitioning into the later parts of the game here.
Gotta redeem themselves after, but James might go for a dive here. He is on the leash, but seems like Juves might be too dangerous as a target. But coming back to that topic, yeah, after that loss yesterday, Mineski definitely wants to bounce back. And they're here with a vengeance, and Sin right now taking a lot of punishment, but they are really evening it out here. The gold is still definitely even, and for the power spikes, both of these teams do benefit from these early kills. So even though Mineski has been very proactive this game, how Sin, okay, that's going to be a hook onto Rogue. I think that's just going to be a dead Zyra, but of course Zenshaw also falls down, ignited as well. So FBI, and actually no, it's going to be Rogue getting the shutdown onto Zenshaw. Big gold for this bot lane for Sin. So they're actually completely evened out the gold now, and even though Mineski has been super proactive in their plays because of how Sin is reacting, they are able to even it out, and this might actually fatigue Mineski out if they keep doing proactive plays, but Sin is able to have a relaxed response against it. FBI might be hooked here. Actually goes in. James actually misses the cocoon. It's going to be TG stunned down, but I think it's still going to be finished off here under the turret with James.
There you go.
It's a very strange hitbox. I'm surprised it missed on a stationary target, but in the end, they still get the kill, so definitely worth it.
Yeah, definitely mission accomplished either way for the Mineski squad right there. But then again, here we go. Exosender might get caught, but whoa, the damage going on to Ryoma.
Actually, it's going to be Exosender having to run away, but I think Void Rush is inescapable after that.
Oh, God.
That was very close, though. Ryoma almost gets taken down, but the final rocket from the barrage not hitting, and you can't really argue when you're being CC locked by this very, very scary Rek'Sai.
Indeed, but I gotta hand it to Sin Gaming. What I really like about how they're playing is they're not only were they responsive, but they're starting to match the own proactivity of Mineski. You know, Mineski clearly really wanting to get things
Already, look at here, because Dokla might be in a little bit of trouble. No mana. I think he has to run away from this. I think Kaigo needs to back off. There is a danger that Juves might be around. He has no vision around the area.
Yeah, definitely. But then again, yeah, as I was saying, with Sin Gaming, I really like the fact they were really started, they changed their pace, you know, they were playing it a little bit more on the safer side, but as soon as they saw Mineski kind of kicking things off within the first few minutes of the game, they started matching that aggression. And, you know, Mineski, I definitely like how they were trying to be proactive to really get that snowball early on, but with all said and done, since Sin Gaming started to match it, that plan pretty much went to moot, because still, so far, with that matching that happened, it's still very much equal for both sides. So there's clearly not really anything definitive, because every proactive play that Mineski makes, there's always something that Sin Gaming will do to match that.
And the package is available for Exosen. So Kaigo and James and a mid laner go for a dive here. Dokla trying to dance around as minion aggro gets passed around. Look at all these low health bars for Mineski. But in the end, because these are very good at diving, but here, hold that thought, there's going to be a clash here in the bot lane. TG gets sniped down, flashes away from the final shot of the curtain call. So lives to fight another day, but Juves is not having any of that. As for the top lane, the first turret gets taken while Zensho and TG try to fight off the assault coming from 3 members. TG actually lives from that, but Rogue takes away Zensho from under the turret.
Man, the trades happening just back and forth. Just when Mineski starts to try to get a pick off Sin Gaming, they go for their own retaliations, whether it be across the map or just with these responses. So
I love how Sin Gaming is playing, because if the enemy is being aggressive towards you, you don't want to be just reactive in a way that you're just taking it lying down. I like how Sin Gaming is definitely knowing when Mineski is going aggressive and having counter-aggressive responses on other sides of the map, or even on the same side of the map. And that is really how you stifle this aggressiveness from Mineski, that you show them that you're not going to just let them take this for free.
Exactly, and if you're going to consider the composition that Sin Gaming has, they're very low within that position, and at the same time, considering that they are running a Fiora, if ever, let's say, they did play to a more passive stance, not really matching the aggressiveness coming from Mineski, then I feel like it wouldn't really have given as much justice to what they've drafted here, because they have so much to work with to match that aggression coming from Mineski at the end of the day.
That's true, and if they were to play defensively, this is a waste of potential from all of the damage that they have. Juves has a lot of damage, even with the Cinder Hulk. That Tiamat really adds something to her DPS, the Rek'Sai's DPS, and Rogue as well deals a lot of damage. And here comes TG going for another aggressive play here in the mid lane. Hook almost misses the rocket grab, just short by a few pixels. But that is going to be the roaming. TG has a Mobi boost. He can go back to bot lane when he needs to.
Yeah, I really like the confidence here. You know, TG starting to try to make plays across the map here, as opposed to, you know, earlier, just really sticking to that lane. But of course, since things are a little bit more pushed up on top, it definitely gives a little bit more flexibility to Hamas as well to just kind of help linger and help, whether it be going for farms and then clearing out, eventually transitioning into the bot side here. But then again, this is very dangerous, because if you look at the turret for Mineski towards bot lane, actually very, very low, and plus the fact that Juves already within the vicinity to potentially make a play.
The collapse comes from Rogue and Juves. Oh man, I think Zensho is going to have to say goodbye. And here comes another member, Ryoma, to try and take down TG. Man, the Joss team definitely should have been playing all that time ever since Juves was around the corner behind the wall there. I don't think James can do much actually to defend this. This is going to be another turret, or rather, the first turret for Sin Gaming, which will match the push that they had in the top lane.
One of the things that I love about this Rek'Sai pick, it actually defines why we kind of see Jhin being played every now and then, but here we go, we actually have a fight.
Man, Dokla actually going for the Grand Challenge against Exosen, no mana, but is able to just get out there. Kaigo actually needs to use his ultimate there defensively just to ensure the speed boost, and Sin cannot catch up, but now mid lane priority now on Sin's side. They have the control of the wave here, and it seems like they are just going to match it. Mineski just going for the push here, going for the recall.
Yeah, but
Dokla gets back to lane.
And looking at the standing overall score, 8-9, still very much equal. Again, it just keeps on. It's very much like a ping pong game that we're seeing here. Again, like I've been saying, once a team tries to be much more proactive, suddenly there's a trade-off on whether it be on the other side, whether it be on the same lane when it comes to these responses. But overall, from what I've been seeing, as far as really getting the team play on, I really like how Sin Gaming played out, especially towards that bot lane where transitioning into that 4-man gang to take down both Zensho and TG. That was
plus a turret,
yeah,
which is pretty big to match the push that came there in the top lane. It's actually almost equalizes the goal and puts him a little bit ahead. And if they weren't doing these aggressive reactive plays, then Mineski's gold would actually be highly in favor on their side, because Sin wouldn't be taking anything in return. But here Sin, every time Mineski tries to take something, like takes a jab to their face, Sin just goes for the kneecaps here. It's doing very, very well for them. It's very scary when you consider the two compositions. Definitely more squishy on Mineski's side.
Oh yeah, definitely, without a doubt. And that's actually one of the things that I worry about, because overall, if you're going to look at the kit of Sin's Gaming's overall composition, they have so many ways to just kind of cause disruption within Mineski's ranks here. You know, we have the knockups coming in from Juice, as well as the overall kit of Talia, you know, very, very disruptive, along with Rogue as well, who could provide that extra implementation of CC. So again, you know, this is a scenario where Mineski has to be really careful. You know, they don't want to get caught off, because these locks, the layering of CCs that come.
And that is going to be hooked onto Rogue, though. Zensho takes him out, but I don't think TG actually makes it out alive there. Actually, Zensho also putting in a few hot shit shots onto FBI, but here comes I think, yeah, shut down onto Juves.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, Mineski, that was, I really got to commend TG here. The hooks thus far, probably at 80% efficiency.
Very impactful
and
on how he hooks
kills, especially, you know, I gotta, if I were Rogue, I'd be pretty pissed right now, because those hooks eventually, I believe, like, I'm actually interested in seeing just how many deaths he has already, because I feel like...
Oh man, it is going to be the heal. Ryoma has to burn his splash as well.
Yeah, double summoners burn from Exosen right there, but then again, of course, this will lead to a Rift Herald take from Mineski, and this will be pretty big.
Here comes Zensho trying to match it out against FBI, but here comes Rogue for the assist. Has to retreat here. There is no assist for Mineski. Zensho has to escape on his own, but FBI dodges a snare from the Deadly Flourish. I think he's just waiting for his 90 caliber. Then actually, no, it's just a flash. Here comes Dokla, riposte the web, but here comes Rogue once again, hooked in. Blast Cone to just keep Dokla away once again.
Oh, Rogue. I feel for him right now. You know, it's not exactly the best position. I mean, the fact that you're already running a squishy champion and then it just gets capitalized.
They're still going for it. Kaigo will be charging in onto Ryoma as he gets hooked in by the rocket grab from TG. The aggressiveness coming from Mineski so far has been really stifling. And now Juice now under duress here. I don't think he can escape unless he has his tunnel right here, but it might be cancelled. Actually, no, Kaigo just flashes over to ensure the kill.
Wow, really good. I like how Mineski is being a lot more proactive, really seeing windows of opportunity where they can get pickoffs off Sin Gaming. Because when I think about it, going into these clashes, I feel like it would be much more trickier if it's actually Sin Gaming that gets to initiate onto Mineski, just because of the kit that they have with overall competition. Again, like I've mentioned, I really like the CC overall coming in from Sin Gaming with the Rek'Sai, with the Talia, with the Zyra to an extent as well.
Yeah, I like what Mineski did, because the reason why Sin has been able to react aggressively is that they follow a lost in their bot lane or top lane with a victory on the other side of the map. But here, by taking a victory and then quickly taking another one from Sin, they prevent Sin's chances of actually taking resources back from Mineski, which puts them now a 2k gold ahead, which can be substantial if you compare it to the gold difference from before in this game. It's like barely 500, but now it's actually in the thousands. Wow, TG looking a lot here, but Ryoma might be going for something. Dokla gets taken down by TG, however, but I think revenge will come for Sin in the hands of Rogue. Now James has to run away. Exosen, no mana, has to fight back. Can he do it? There's really no chance when you've got no mana as a Corki.
Yeah, and that was very tricky. And that's actually one of the worries. It actually showed right there in that clash for MSK. Once it's Sin Gaming that gets the topple off onto MSK, they actually fumble there. Because without the protection, the optimal protection for both Exosen and Zensho to an extent, you know, they don't really have as solid a front line, I'd say, and the disruption to protect these two carries here. So once Sin gets their topple on them, it's just really MSK needing to try to kite around that. But let's go ahead and check out that replay though, as to see what happened. So there we go. Juice actually getting a great knock up in onto the members of MSK. Although luckily, I like how James actually was able to manage to dodge with the repel. But then again, at the end of the day, these are two members taken off from MSK squad right here. So still a good victory there for Sin Gaming. So again, it's just really showing with Mineski, they could do really well at these pickoffs. Sin Gaming, however, once they topple off Mineski, that's where Mineski kind of struggles a bit.
Yeah, I like how FBI played that as well. With a curtain call, those few hits that he connected actually made it so Zensho could not participate at all after the few hits that he did. Then after he was too low after that, so he had to retreat, which meant there's a lot of loss of DPS come from Mineski in that fight, which actually led to Sin getting those 2 kills for free. If Zensho had some health there, he could have been able to exchange a few kills there, but since Sin, FBI doing so well and how he targets with his ultimate, very nice.
Yes, there we go, of course. We'll just have to see how this will eventually play out. Still, Mineski actually has a little bit of a lead, but then again, I wouldn't necessarily say it's as substantial because they're not really at a point wherein they could overwhelm Sin Gaming despite, like I mentioned, with the collapsing, it's still on Sin Gaming's court. Not really an element wherein Mineski could dominate.
Exosen has to be careful. Flash on Burrow. Even the heal is burned by Exosen, but I think that's going to be the death sentence. On the other hand, going to be a reaction from Mineski to hard push this mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, I think Exosen was banking on potentially transitioning the heal into a flash, but just really wasn't enough. But here comes the charge from Kaigu.
Going for something. They want to avenge their mid laner. Jubes has to tunnel away, but Joust in hot pursuit here from Kaigu. The hook, the rocket grab actually takes him down. Just in time for Baron to spawn, but I don't think this is going to be an objective contested right now at 20 minutes.
No, not
I think it's just going to be the vision just so they can ensure the safety of this objective.
There we go. So yeah, Mineski definitely still at the steady 2,000 gold difference. But
James might be in danger. Oh man, he suddenly gets taken down. FBI didn't even need to ult there. It was just a sheer burst from Ryoma.
Yeah. Indeed, like a little bit of an overkill from Sin Gaming, but it did get the job done. And this is what I've been saying here, the layering of CC, absolutely great once Sin Gaming is able to land that and just really time things correctly here, because one of the struggles here is that if you release everything within one fell sweep, then that's where actually you could lose out on windows of opportunity by exhausting all those resources. But getting the timing correctly, you know, really making layer for CC for CC for CC at the right timing, just so that you could maximize the time wherein you could get the lockdown on a member of Mineski. That's good, but Exosen though...
He has the Valkyrie, I think, but here when he's cornered between a rock and a hard place by this Talia, I think there's not much he can do. Teleport needs to be cancelled by Kaigu because he does not want a 1v3.
Oh man, the damage on that Talia is absolutely crazy. One of the more consistent mid lane champions that we've been seeing to much effectivity here in Rift Rivals thus far. So, you know, definitely something the other teams might want to consider going into these different games, because again, not just the damage output, the Weaver's Wall, when played correctly, could be a complete game changer.
It's so versatile.
Exactly.
Like, it's a roam tool. It's also used to block off escapes, and the rest of Talia's kit just hits you like a rock to the face.
Exactly.
Like, the CC as well. If you get hit by the Seismic Show into the Unraveled Earth, that is going to hurt, plus it's going to set you up for a follow-up from the rest of Sin Gaming. So that's the danger of this Talia that Mineski really has to be careful of. But if they can go for their long-range game with Exosen and Zensho, they can definitely avoid some of the damage that the threaded volley as well as the rest of Talia's kit can bring out. But they have to also be careful. These Jubes can dive them straight up, and Rogue, with a very large range of damage, can actually bring down the hurt onto Mineski.
And you know what? Exosen definitely struggling here in this case. Comparing it to his counterpart mid laner Ryoma, 0-5 to 2 for Exosen in comparison to a 5-1 to 3. Itemization, only a Trinity Force completed for Exosen. Sure, it is an optimal item for Corki, but if you're going to compare it to a Talia, who has 2 items completed, a Morellonomicon, not to mention a Haunting Guys, that's really going to hurt. And until such time that Exosen is able to catch up, I don't think, again, this is a problem here. MSK really couldn't deal, in my opinion, with these full-on 5v5s just yet.
Definitely, and it's Sin with the power spike. And I like how they stifled Exosen. They really shut him down. All of these ganks from Jubes onto this mid laner of MSK means that he's 0-5 and 2 behind, a little bit behind in CS. And the itemization spike has a very bad timing, very late Trinity Force, just now building into the Infinity Edge. And these are very expensive items that Corki wants to build ASAP, and shutting him down means that Sin has more time to work with. They are still behind in gold, but when it comes to the tempo, it seems they are recovering from the early game.
Definitely, and you know, here, hopefully we could definitely see, because regardless of Exosen falling behind, of course, the rest of MSK actually pulling the weight really well, but looks like a Baron attempt coming from MSK. Not really continuing though, that would have been very risky.
Yeah, if they continue that, it will be reminiscent of GPL.
Yeah, I remember that one. Wasn't the best scenario for MSK at all, but still, regardless, I really like that they folded it off just a bit, especially this is a Rek'Sai that we're talking about, just could go dive right in for the steal, and then
that is pressure though. Starting that threatens Sin, and here comes actually the threat manifested with Kaigu diving in onto Jubes and FBI, but right now the rest of his team can't just follow up just yet, so Kaigu is very, very low, needs to be body blocked by his teammates. A little bit too fast coming from Kaigu. Now the Weaver's Wall, their own engage here, and I think MSK has no chance to escape. Kaigu gets taken down, Heal gets burned, Juves dives onto Exosen, but Ryoma follows up and gets the kill. James takes down Juves and actually gets rocket grab right back out. But I think this is a huge win from Sin Gaming.
Yeah, with 3 members of MSK down as opposed to 1, you know, that was absolutely crazy, and it was MSK that actually got that initiate on. It's just unfortunate that Kaigu, within like 3 to 4 minutes of going for that initiate, wasn't able to get the proper follow-up from the MSK. Technically, you're not even in the position to, like I mentioned, these 5v5s, you're not really in that position just yet to really go full on, because that's technically the strength of Sin Gaming's composition here.
He was going so fast, too fast even, that the rest of his team just got blocked off by the Strangle Thorns, by everything else, and once they ran out of steam, they just got blocked off beautifully by Ryoma. And this just gives an Infernal Drake, which is huge for these two compositions. They want as much attack damage and AP as they can get. Here comes MSK with a very brave move. Not defaulting anything to Sin, but Juice is right around the corner. Blast Cone even is available, and now he has vision over Kaigu. This might be a steal. Actually, there is going to be a secure coming from James, and now Juice pays the price, but Dokla, and actually now it's going to be Rogue hooked in, but now Dokla has to fight it off with Zencho, actually finishes the grand challenge, but this is still going to be a 3v1. Now the rest of the Sin squad actually catches up, and I think this is death for MSK right here. 2 members remaining. They need to preserve this Baron buff to make this play worth it, but I think PG just get the firing squad, just hides over somewhere. Will the Empowered Recall save him? No, Ryoma goes for the threaded volley, takes him down, so only 1 Baron buff remaining for MSK here.
I would say not bad at all though for MSK. Regardless, that was a lot of casualties, I will say, and it definitely puts Sin Gaming back on the map here, closing out the goal to less than 1,000. But regardless, you know, being able to at least securing that Baron for themselves as opposed to giving it to Sin Gaming, because if Sin Gaming got the skill, that would have been the complete reverse, putting the ball onto Sin Gaming's court, getting that advantage, getting the upper hand after, like, because we haven't seen really Sin Gaming really get back from that, but still, the stagnant's still pretty much equal in my opinion.
They're very, very equal. If you look at the kill distribution for Sin, though, it's all on very dangerous members. 7, 1, and 6 on this Talia. We see how much damage he deals in these team fights. As for Rogue, having a lot of gold on him, a lot of kills, isn't that bad. It is high damage, and that's what Sin wants. FBI is sharing in that as well with a lot of assists, so he gets bonus assist gold. So all this actually culminates in Sin dealing so much damage. If you look at MSK, however, the goal is concentrated around Elise, which at this point of the game should be transitioning into a more stun-bot role. But because he has more kills, a lot of kills from the team's overall kills, he needs to actually put out a lot of damage, because his mid lane right now is just tickling Sin at this point, while Zensho, while dealing a lot of substantial damage, is getting bothered a lot by Juve, and Dokla as well. So they really need to be able to distribute the kills better, and because right now the kill distribution really on Sin's side, and if Kaigu, if he dives in again like that and is not able to put out damage, that 6 kills will be wasted. And man, curtain call will be burnt here. I think Mineski needs to dance around, but I think James misses a step, gets taken down. Here comes Kaigu actually taking down Rogue. Might go for FBI, but now he has to run away. Actually flashes in. FBI flashes in response. He gets shut down by FBI.
Oh man, that was such a shame. Kaigu, really starting things. I'm not sure if that was a miscommunication or the rest of Mineski not knowing that Kaigu was already in the back line right there to go support him, but regardless, this might be the chance for Sin Gaming right now to go for the offense as 2 members of the Mineski squad actually down.
And I think those were the members with a Baron buff. So taking them down means that Sin has no more pressure on them from the Mineski Baron buff, and they can make more aggressive moves. Of course, the gold is still definitely equal, but the Infernal Drake could tip the balance of the next fight, because if you calculate the value of this Infernal Drake, it's around 1k, 1.2k gold at this stage of the game, especially considering how Sin has a lot of damage items. That should be around the 1.2k value, which can be substantial against Mineski at this point.
Definitely a huge sigh of relief for Sin Gaming right here. And you know what's scary here is that looking back at the clash prior to the last one, if you're during the Baron take, not to mention Mineski, they after the Baron take, they slowly turned onto Sin Gaming. But once the threat of Ryoma went in on them, that was when they started scattering. So that's actually what I worry about here. Once these clashes start, once again, that threat of the damage drop coming in from Ryoma, again, so ahead right now in comparison to the rest of, if not anybody, probably the one with the best KDA across the board. 8, 1, and 7 for the Tulane, not to mention 3 items already built, leading to the 4th item already. So this is just so tricky for the Mineski squad to deal with. Again, they really want to try to get things pick off. We are transitioning into heavier pushes, going for objectives, because again, these full-on 5v5s, I still don't think that they're up to par with dealing.
They cannot take them.
Especially, again, the primary carries, not quite at their optimal speed just yet. Sure, they could go for smaller pickoffs, but then again, like I mentioned, when it comes to the full-ons, that's where Mineski still struggles.
And the thing with smaller pickoffs is, yeah, you get that pick off on one person, but then Ryoma blocks you off from your escape path, and Juice is able to dive on you from long range by Prey Seekering you and then going for the Void Rush. So it's very hard for them to actually go for these pickoffs. And the thing is, this is the way this game has been playing is also a little bit because of the kill distribution, as they discussed before. Exocet not having any kills, while James has almost all of them, means that they have to change up how they play, and going for these pickoffs is still very dangerous, could be the way to go. And if they are going for these full-on 5v5s, Kaigu needs to be supported. He has 7 kills, more than anyone else on the Mineski squad. So if they actually want to win this in a full 5v5 group fight, Kaigu needs to lead the charge while being supported by the rest of the team. But it's very hard because Mineski, it's less about support here from James and TG and more about helping with the kills. So that could be a problem with keeping Kaigu alive.
Exactly, and if you're going to think about it, during those initiates, during the more proactive plays that we've seen from Kaigu going into the members of Sin Gaming, 2 instances wherein the Mineski squad just wasn't able to follow up on that. So I'm not really sure if it's an instance wherein Kaigu probably pulling the trigger a little bit too early, not allowing the rest of the Mineski members to really catch on when these initiates are happening, or maybe it's just Kaigu, or maybe it is Kaigu actually making the right plays, but Mineski not really being in the position or going for the straight-up follow-ups. Because technically, if you're going to look at the kit of Sled, particularly for Ultimate, but TG though.
Yeah, I think TG is just dead here unless... Yeah, I think he's dead. Flash was burned by both of them, so it could be more worth it for Mineski to have both Flashes burned, but that was just a free kill for Dokla.
Yeah, and considering that Dokla is on this Fiora, later on during this game, he's just gonna really make Mineski feel the pain, and Ryoma enough is already a handful to deal with as is. So I don't know at this point, Mineski really needs to try to capitalize on what windows of opportunity that they still can, because later on during this game, I actually feel for them. Especially, like you mentioned, James actually has most of the kills thus far, along with Kaigu. Not exactly the optimal people you want farmed up, especially when you have a Corki and Caitlyn that'll probably be much more reliable in terms of damage transitioning into later parts of the game.
if Exocen is able to get more and more items, they can scale off very well. This means 280 carries, which, as in history, has always been super effective at the long game. But here comes James, caught in his own web. Juves, I think, will be able to finish this off, but is able to rappel away. But here comes the Weaver's Wall. TG now the one trapped. It actually instantly takes down Zensho. And I think this is just going to be Mineski falling apart, stuck between four members of Sin. Double kill for Ryoma and an opportunity for them to power push this mid lane with only Exocen, the least farmed member, the least farmed carry of Mineski, trying to defend this. Look at how fast Sin actually takes these objectives.
Man, this is not good at all. And of course, this is the issue right here again. Sin Gaming actually getting the proper members of their squad farmed up as opposed to
he's going for it. Exocen going for the hero play. FBI tries to match him in the firefight, but the rest of his team very well going for the turrets. Actually, it's going to be Dokla getting taken down, but I think Sin can actually take the game here with how fast and how fed FBI is and how tanky Exocen is not dealing any damage. That's going to be Sin taking away a win.
Man, oh man, congratulations, of course, to the OPL squad winning the first game for day 2 of Rift Rivals. And there we go, of course, we're going to be seeing, you know, Sin Gaming. Again, this is their first game of the entire Rift Rivals season, so really well played, you know, really opening their game with a bang. 3rd seed of the OPL performing in that game above and beyond. So I gotta hand it to them. Again, it was just a problem where, like you mentioned, I really like that you brought up how Mineski not exactly getting the right members of their squad up to optimal speed to really carry, again, the Corki and the Caitlyn, especially with Hamas and Kaigu kind of getting most of the kills, as opposed to Sin Gaming. Sure, it might have seemed that they were struggling a bit because Mineski had the upper hand earlier on, but then again, Ryoma on this Talia, man.
On point, definitely. It's not the usage of the Talia that I expect, where he roams a lot, but the thing is, he was able to just dominate in lane with the help of his jungler, which is also a win condition for the Talia, and then after that, being able to just be a huge threat coming from the Weaver's Wall to block off escape paths once skirmishes started. And I think Mineski really ran out of steam there. They were doing so many proactive plays, but man, Sin was able to just repause and parry every single one of those plays and then use them to their advantage in the end. With the kill distribution, with the power spikes in their favor, Sin was able to just consistently overpower Mineski, even though the gold was very close.
There we go. So again, ladies and gents, of course, that has been game 1 for Rift Rivals 2017. That was, of course, once again, Mineski versus Sin Gaming. Congratulations once again to Sin Gaming. But of course, when we come back, we will be witnessing the next game. That is, of course, going to be Rampage of the LJL versus GPL's own #1 seed, the Gigabyte Marines. Of course, we have been your casters, Arctic at your service, fam. Of course, with me is the Mighty Atlas. We'll be right back after a quick break. For the meantime, stay